Hello everybody, my name is David Liu. I am running for the California 49th Assembly District as the only Republican candidate. I am new to politics. I am not a politician. I have no experience, I have no connections. I do not have big companies or wealthy people backing me. I don't have any of that. I am an average nobody. As an average nobody, why do you want to run for such a prestigious position? The reason is very simple. You do what is right, not what is easy. Every single day, I walk down the street, I feel scared. I eat in a restaurant, I feel scared. After a long day of work in the office, after I get back home, I want to take my mom out for a walk, for dinner. My mom doesn't want to go. She is scared. I feel this way in the past few years, every single day. I live in fear. I'm sure you feel the same way. We have to make changes. Not only that, the indoctrination in our schools is getting worse and worse. One of the reasons Elon Musk moved out of California is that his son had a sex change operation. His son has become his daughter. Her name is Vivi. I think the indoctrination has to stop. The parents are entitled to the notification of such a dramatic event in their children's lives. Third, we have to control inflation. You go to McDonald's, you go to Starbucks, the price has gone up by so much to the point you cannot afford to live in California anymore. We have too many taxes. Not only there's a lot of taxes, many of them don't make any sense, such as mileage tax. You travel more miles, you pay more money for mileage tax. People who travel a lot are the kind of people who don't have a high income. They have to live on the outskirts of the city. So you get penalized for not having high income. It does not make any sense at all. That has to stop. That's why I am running for the 49th Assembly District. Because I feel scared. I don't want indoctrination. That would affect my child. I don't want inflation. You feel the same way. You, me, together will send a strong message to Sacramento. Let's do something about it. I don't want to just talk the talk. We have to walk the walk. But I need you to walk with me. Thank you. My name is David Liu. I'm the Republican candidate for the 49th Assembly District in California. Thank you. Let's get started. My name is David Long Liu. I'm the Republican candidate for the 49th Assembly District. Sitting right next to me is Judge David Milton. Judge, I will have you introduce yourself.
Well, yeah, I need to make it clear, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm a retired judge. I'm not working in any official capacity, of course, so I'm a retired judge. That's just part of my resume. But I am a practicing lawyer. I've been a lawyer for 46 years, and 36 of those years has been in public service. The last 10 years I've been in private practice, handling arbitrations and mediations. And I've known Attorney Liu for many years, and he asked me, and I'm certainly aware of his candidacy for the 49th District, and he asked me whether or not it would be prudent to take a look at the constitutional, or at least challenge the constitutionality of this new statute, SB 1174. And after some discussion with David, I thought he was right. I mean, he's come up with something that ought to be done. Since 2020, the hot button topics have been ballot fraud and ballot integrity, those kinds of things all over the public platforms. And you hear a lot of people lamenting what has been occurring across the country, but no action taken. And I think David is one of those who's willing to take a leadership role in that, in making something happen here. This is a real concern about a fundamental right for citizens, not only in the state of California, but in the United States.
Yes, I could not agree with Judge Milton more. So what happened was that as of September the 29th, Governor Newsom signed this bill, SB 1174, into law, saying that checking voter ID is illegal. Basically, he bylawed the prevention of voter fraud. In my eyes, this is nothing but sheer stupidity, because voter fraud has been a very big issue, if not the biggest issue in the past few years. So it doesn't matter if you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you're independent. I believe everybody wants to have a fair election, without being tempered, by things like a voter fraud.
Well, I think that's something that we certainly agree upon, and most citizens of the state in the United States agree. And this is what prompted me, after a discussion with David, it prompted me to want to participate in this and file this lawsuit on behalf of David, who is a candidate for the 49th District. So he's not only counsel on this matter to challenge the constitutionality of the statute, but he's also a candidate for the 49th. So he has personal standing as well. So I think he's well-grounded in bringing this lawsuit, and I'm happy to assist him in that regard. If we want to talk about the merits of the suit, we can do that, or if you want to discuss other matters before that, David, I'll leave that to you.
Yeah. So the way I see it, filing this lawsuit is not just the exercise of my legal rights. It was also my legal obligation to do so. So when I became an attorney, I took a sworn oath to protect the U.S. Constitution and the California Constitution. In terms of the bill, SB 1174, being signed into law, everybody talks about it, everybody complains about it, but as of right now, nobody has done anything about it. So I feel that, not only do we have to talk the talk, we have to walk the walk. So I filed this lawsuit, with the assistance and guidance from Judge Milton. So somebody has to do something about it. Because this new law being implemented, so meaning that nobody can check voter ID, meaning that the best method of preventing voter fraud is illegal. We will never ever have a fair election. Every single person on this planet can vote on California election. So that will make the election system, that will make the process futile. The election will become a joke, meaning that the cornerstone to our democracy, the election system, will no longer exist. Democracy will come into ruin. So the significance of filing this lawsuit can never ever be overstated. So this is not just about me being a Republican or being a Republican candidate, about me running for the office. This is about protecting the process. It's about protecting democracy. Every single person, every law-abiding citizen in America should be aware of how disastrous, how evil this law is. Can you imagine? Anybody can vote on California election anywhere. What does that mean? That means the election system is a joke.
Well, I think it should be understood by the public that this law pertains to in-person voting or casting of a ballot. So what's that mean? I believe it's somewhere north of 60% of the voting in a general election such as this one coming on November 5th. Most of that, 60+%, I believe, of those ballots being cast are in person on the day of voting or a day or two before the final day, November 5th. Now, this is the applicability of this ballot measure. Now, voting officials now are restrained from making any inquiry. And so it's illegal for a voting official to try to protect the integrity of this process. So anyone can walk in and cast a ballot without being asked to demonstrate that they are the person who is, in fact, the registered voter in this matter. This is dangerous if you think this out. If you think about this, a person, you can go to lavote.gov and register to vote. And they'll say, well, do you have a social security or driver's license? And you can go to all the boxes, no, 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 no. Well, then there's a box that says, I have none of those. Then you proceed to the next step. And so you say, I don't have that. Well, you proceed and you can register to vote. So this lends itself to widespread fraud. And you know what's raised the red flag to me after David asked me to take a look at this is we always look at, or at least I do as a lawyer, I'm sure David does the same, we look at the intent behind the legislation or the reasons for this legislation. What are the stated reasons for Senate Bill 1174? I indicated that in the complaint that we drafted. It says the stated reasons, and I'm going to look at a note or look at the complaint itself just to make sure I'm precise. Elderly and disabled. That's one of the reasons. Elderly, disabled, and another group is ethnic minorities. Let's take that first group first. Elderly and disabled. Think this out. Don't you think the elderly have a driver's license? And the disabled, aren't they using government benefits such as Medicare, Social Security, retirement? Don't you think these people had an identification to apply for those benefits? Don't you think that the elderly and disabled, whenever they go to a medical facility, they're asked for ID to make sure that they're the correct patient? Of course, this is a farcical argument being made by the state to support this legislation. Now let's look at ethnic minorities. It's presumptuous to say in the reasons, well, they're of such low intellect that they don't know how to get an identification, or their resources are so limited that they cannot afford it. Think that out. Do you really think that that's true? Do you think that's a true concern? That they are not smart enough to, that's offensive to me, being a person of mixed ethnicity. That's offensive to most of them. Most ethnic minorities think it's offensive to them because this allows their vote to be diluted. This legislation will permit non-citizens to overwhelm anything that's on the ballot, to vote and dilute their vote, to dilute the vote of citizens. Think about, okay, let's say the concern is, oh, the ethnic minorities don't have enough resources to afford to get an ID, which in my view is laughable. But let's just say that's true. Waive the filing fee. They have no legitimate, and that's the reason, those are the reasons, the stated reasons behind this legislation. So, if you look at those reasons and say those are they're not legitimate basis for this legislation, then what is the reason for the legislation? Why do you want to prevent voting officials from asking for ID to make sure that the person who's attempting to vote is the person who's entitled to vote? In my view, it's a nefarious reason. That's my view.
Yes. So in short, I think the new law, in fact, is aiding and abetting a crime, the crime of a voter fraud. As a matter of fact, most voters, when they go and cast their ballots, when asked to see their ID, they are more than happy to show their IDs. They want to tell you they are eligible to vote. The fact that there's no any other law preventing checking of the IDs except for checking voter IDs is laughable. If that's the case, or to encourage more people to vote, when you go buy a drink at a bar, right? So a lot of times, if you're young or you look young, you're youthful looking, people will ask you to see your ID, right? I mean, unless you are actually, underage. A lot of times, especially if you're a woman, you're happy. People ask to see your ID, to see that you're of drinking age. You get pulled over by a police officer. Maybe you were speeding, or you ran a red light. They would ask you to see your ID. Why did we not come up with a new law saying that, checking your IDs for traffic stops is illegal? If you want people to bring ID with them if they drive, that discourages them from driving. If we apply the same logic, right? You were saying that you want to see their ID, you would discourage them from voting. By the same idea, by the same logic, if you want to check people's IDs when police officers stop them for a traffic stop, it would discourage them from driving. Should we have a new law, making checking IDs for traffic stops illegal? We should also come up with a new law, making checking IDs when they want to buy a drink at a bar illegal, right? Because it would discourage them from buying drinks. What do you want to see my ID? I don't feel comfortable showing my ID. Because if I forgot to bring my ID, I cannot buy a drink. It also hurts the restaurant, hurts the bar. Because they could have sold more drinks. You are asked to see your ID when you go to Costco. Casting a ballot is the most secret is the most precious legal right as an American citizen. Yet, not only they don't have to show you your ID, any attempt trying to check their ID is illegal. That's how absurd, how stupid this law is. It's, I think there's an elephant in the room. There's ulterior motives behind this law.
Well, like I indicated, David, I think
Yes.
that is, if you eliminate the ostensible reasons given here,
Yes.
the elderly, the disabled, ethnic minorities, if you eliminate those reasons, which I again believe those are just farcical reasons given, if you really think that out, the true purpose for the law is what then? Why? Just ask the question. Why would you not want voting officials to try to protect the integrity of the process? Why do you want this law? And I'm telling you, and it's, at least in my view, you want this law because you want illegal voting to occur. You want voting to occur by non-citizens. You want to pass certain agendas. You want to, in my view, it's a way to retain and remain in power. We've got a supermajority here in the state of California right now. A supermajority. For those of you who may not know what that means, I don't want to be presumptuous, but that supermajority, they can pass whatever legislation they care to pass without any checks or balances by any side. Republicans don't have a voice in the matter. If you look at the parties involved, it's a Democratic stronghold, and they, in my view, intend to keep it. And that's one of the reasons. If you think about what's happening in the country, we have open border policies. Does anybody dispute that there's an open border policy? It's not a good thing to say during an election or as we approach an election cycle that the Harris-Biden administration won't admit that there's an open border policy. They say it's secure. And you hear them all the time in the media saying, well, our border is secure. And there was a bipartisan bill submitted, and it was about to be approved until Trump gets on the phone and telephones and tells the Republicans don't do it because he wants it to remain as a political issue. And I didn't mean for this bill to become a political discussion here, but I just talking about the facts. So this is what we're hearing in the news. Well, they never point out that this bipartisan bill allows 5 million people a day to enter the country. But that's just one side of the equation here. Most citizens do not realize that the Harris-Biden administration has imported, not just through walking across the border, but flying people into the country. Millions of people in the country and giving them the status called parole or advanced parole. So it kind of makes you kind of in a gray area. You're kind of legal and kind of not yet. And it puts those people in front of all the people who have applied for green card status or permanent residence and waited years to get their matters addressed. But Harris-Biden, they're flying people by the tens of thousands into this country, putting them into the swing states. And when they arrive, let's just say in California, did you realize when you arrive in California at the border, you're given certain papers, you're given benefits, you're given an application to register to vote and get a California driver's license? Or most people aren't aware of that, but that's what's going on. And if you go to the DMV and ask for a California driver's license, again, there's a certain amount of ID that's required. And I don't know if I've listed that in the complaint or not, but you can say, well, I have do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? And then there's a box at the bottom that says, I don't have any of those. Okay, you can still get a valid California driver's license. You can present that anywhere. This is the type of behavior that's happening here in Sacramento, and it's been going on for a long time, and it's undermining the legitimacy of our electoral processes and in many other areas that affect public interest. This is what's happening, folks. And this to me, I've been in the business for many years. Like I said, I was in public service for 36. And I've been in private for the last 10 years. I would return to public service if I could help. I'm very protective of our systems, our government systems. And what I mean by that, I want fairness. When I see abuses, I want to challenge those abuses. And this is what we're seeing here. And so I'm willing to assist David throughout this matter. And what we're asking here is the federal judge, the district court, to just say, stop this. You're not going to do this until after this election, until we can really examine and evaluate what this is about. That's the purpose for this lawsuit. You're not going to negatively impact the citizens of the state of California and candidates who are personally impacted, like Attorney Liu, by having this happen, by diluting their vote with tens of thousands of non-citizens who are not eligible to vote, to permit them to vote. And like Attorney Liu said, it's like they're aiding and abetting the commission of some criminal activity. Tell the voting officials, no, you are committing a crime if you try to check the integrity or the validity of this person attempting to cast a ballot. And I feel strongly about that.
This is the new law is a direct attack on our democracy. I urge every single American. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, you're independent. This is about you. This is about each and every single one of us. We have to rise up. We have to fight for what is fair. How can this law ever be fair? How can this ever be law? I think America and also California, we are at a very critical point where laws like SB 1174 get implemented. You will render not just the election, but the entire democracy meaningless and futile. If we want America to stay America, if we want a U.S. democracy, we want U.S. freedom to stay the way they should be, the lawsuit had to be filed, and it was filed. So I urge each and every single one of you to join me in the fight for freedom, for fairness, for justice, and for America. Thank you.